And we're live.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Building Your Wellness Brand Within Your Community. I'm Dr. Alan Weinstein with my co-host, Dr. Randi Ross. Today's episode is brought to you by the William David Company, Rethinking Small Business Marketing, and Community Wellness Day. There we go. Every great opportunity begins with the first step. Take that step with Community Wellness Day. And the system, the official marketing program of healthcare professionals everywhere, and of course the VIP app, the only application that allows you to bring your live hangouts just like this one to the smartphone, tablets, and desktops of all those people that have you in their circles. Our apps look so good, people are going to want to lick them. And of course, Google in 10 minutes, a step-by-step guide for everything Google for your business. Well, today we have a special guest. A little slow. Oh, this week's episode. Let me step back here a little bit. My slides are jumping. This week's episode: Small Business Automation Fundamentals with Sean Adams. Sean's really a really good friend. Let me advance his slide and read you his little bio here. Sean Adams is the founder of ToGetSeen.com, and after spending 15 years in higher education as both an administrator and faculty member, Sean Adams left to help small business owners get to be seen. Having traveled to over 37 different countries and trained over 10,000 people on 3 continents and Australia, Sean's ability to make the complex simple to understand is exceptional. His ability to give the small business owner more quality time by automating what they can so they can get back to what they let's a run-on sentence. Who wrote this? Has been a highly sought after consultant and trainer. I know Sean from training, and I've been at a number of events that Sean has actually participated in, run, organized, you name it. And so I'm excited that he's here. My slides are jumping automatically on their own. I can't stop them. With that said, let me turn it over to our host of the day. Here's Dr. Randi.
Well, thank you, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you that want to see what a live event looks like when it pops up on the phone, let's see if we can see this. There's my iPhone, and you can see there is our event ready for the play button. Actually, what you don't know that actually scared me, my phone buzzes really loud. As soon as we started the event, a buzz came through and it said you have a VIP app message waiting for you. So we talk about it all the time, that's what it looks like. Well, anyway, we have a special guest today, as Dr. Allen said. He's an old friend of ours, and we've done a lot of things together, been Google Plus people and Hangout people together for quite some time. And he has some really great information to share with you about automation. And this is a really important piece of your business success puzzle as you reach your potential clients, customers, patients, whatever it is that you refer to them. You want to make sure that you have as many systems in place to automate the communication process. And Sean's going to go ahead and take us through some of the things that we could and should be doing. So without any further ado, I'm going to welcome Sean Adams. Hey, Sean.
Howdy. Thanks, Dr. Randy. Thanks, Dr. Allen. It's good to be here. Good to see you guys. Good to be able to hang out with you guys again. It's been a while since we've been in a hangout together, but we have done many of these. So it's nice to be here. I appreciate that you guys are just invited me in and be able to let me have a chance to talk about this concept of creating systems and doing automation to make small businesses function better. There's this whole idea out there, there's this whole thing that happens that people go into a small business because they want to have the freedom of running their own business, they want to be in more control, and usually it's because they have something that they really love and they want to be able to help. And it might be because you're a chiropractor or you're a masseuse, or you just know that getting people dressed in the best clothing works really well, so that you set up your own boutique. Whatever that small business is that you might do, it's really important that you want to, you did it for a reason, something that you cared about, something that you loved. And usually it takes about 6 months or so of doing this that all of a sudden you find out you're no longer doing the stuff that you loved because now you're running a business. And having the desire to help people through your small business and running a small business are usually two really different things, and people end up getting caught up in this running their business piece and lose that love and that passion and that commitment that they had when they first began. And so the idea is to find ways to get rid of doing those things you don't really love doing and get back to helping and caring and supporting your clients in the way that you really, really care about and why you originally got into doing this. So that's the reason why I'm a fan of automation. It lets people get more time and quality time and more money eventually in the long run. So I want to just kind of walk people through this basic process, this basic concept of working with, acquiring, delivering your product to clients, and even turning them into those raving fans who just can't stop talking about you. And there's steps along the way where you can automate, and I just want to explain and give you a couple ways that you can do that and a couple sources for doing that that work really well. So I'm going to go ahead and just begin to share my screen and show you guys a little bit about what I want you to all see and understand. So we're going to start out today with just the idea of automation for success. And it's this idea of the tools that are available to give you more of your quality time back. People go into business for a couple of reasons. And if you're able to automate effectively and you're able to do it the way you want, you're going to find yourself getting more money because you're spending less time doing the things you don't want to do. And so you're able to recruit more clients, you're able to deliver to your clients better, you're able to interact with them so that they want to talk about you as raving fans more. But it also can give you a lot more quality time. If I told you that through some automation I could give you 10 hours a week back to be able to do the thing that you most need to do to grow your business, most people are going to be excited to have that 10 hours. And they're going to spend either all of that 10 hours growing their business, or they may spend 5 hours of that growing their business and 5 hours of that doing things that they want to do with their family, for themselves, whatever it might be. That's the reason why I believe so much in automation, is to be able to get that quality time. And the thing to remember, and I always want to mention this, is that no matter where your business is, you're starting where you are. You're not starting, you maybe have zero automation in place, and that's okay. You may have 98% of the possible automation you need in place. That's totally fine. Anytime you can add more, anytime you can take things off your plate so that you can focus in on the things that really matter and the things that you're really good at and love to do, that's going to make it better. So you're starting out where you are. And in order to understand the world of automation, there's this concept out there called lifecycle marketing. And this is that idea of what happens when you're interacting with people. And that means from attracting that person who's never even heard of you and getting them to know that you exist. How do you get that person to interact with you, and you capture a way to talk to them via email, text, whatever that might be? How do you interact with them enough to get them from being a cold lead who just heard about you to being a warm lead who might want what you have, to being a hot lead who says, I need what you're offering, so that you can convert that sale, so that you can deliver, because odds are you're very good at what you do. And so when you're delivering, when you get to that point of delivering, that's where most people are really good at, but they forget to get those people to the point of delivering. After you've delivered, you can either upsell them in other things, or the big thing is getting referrals so they talk about you. So we're going to talk about this in kind of 3 stages. The first one is that idea of attracting more customers. And this can happen a lot of ways. You can do it just through your website, through SEO optimization, so it shows up in Google searches, so if somebody's putting in keywords, they're finding your site. That's one thing, and there's ways to automate that. Social media is another one, where you're posting consistently in social media, and that could be Pinterest, that could be Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, lots of different Google+, all these different social media platforms that are out there. There's ways to automate the delivery of social media even, so that you write it once, decide when it goes out, and people feel like you're actively participating in social media, even if you're only doing it once a week for an hour and scheduling it out from there. And then there's that part I was talking about where somebody hears about you, you might offer them something free, like a free ebook or a white paper or a video training or whatever it might be, just to be able to deliver value to them so they start to know, like, and trust you, start to gain some belief that you are the person they want to work with, no matter what it is that you deliver product-wise. And then you've captured that information, you're nurturing them, you're communicating with them, you're talking to them about that. There's also ways that networking is one of the most powerful things that you can do to be able to attract more customers. It's out there, it's shaking hands, it's getting to meet people, and there's ways to make your networking more effective. A lot of times people will go out and collect giant stacks of business cards, and then they just pile up on the desk and they don't do anything with it. There's automation out there that lets you just scan the card in your phone, you tag them with something, you identify them as where you met them, and then they get an email sequence saying, it was really nice meeting you here, I'd love to have a time to talk to you, let's schedule a time to have a conversation, or come by for this special offer, or whatever it might be, and all that can be automated once you've just put the item into your phone. So networking, that kind of thing can happen through automation. Same thing with referrals. Getting other people who say, hey, I want to do this, you can set up systems that the person doesn't even ever have to drive the person to you. They send them to your website, the person fills out the form, and they go through that process for you. All of this can be automated. Once you've got these folks who have gotten to know you, gotten to like you, gotten to trust you, and they want what you offer, you've got to close the sale. There's ways to do automated closing of sales through online purchasing and things like that. You've got to deliver what you promise, and this is probably the one area you can't automate. You've got to be able to do what you do, and you've got to do it well. This is the key. You can't really automate that because it's who you are, but you can automate how well the experience is by setting up your systems in your office or in your store or whatever it is, so the client experience as the best experience it can be. And then you can upsell you can automate the upsells and the other products depending on what it is that your service, and it could be follow-up, it could be specials that you have inside your store, it could be things that you offer through, further education as they're your client. Let's say as a chiropractor, maybe you're sending them videos once a week of things they can be doing at home to make themselves healthier. There's lots of pieces that you can put into this to make the delivery better. If you deliver well, you then create those raving fans, and that happens when you deliver beyond expectations. So it's not just, I'll use the chiropractor as an example, it's not just the time they're on the table, but it might be the products that you have available inside the office to increase their well-being. It might be the videos that you're sending them outside of their visits to accelerate their wellness, whatever that might be, so that it's not just beyond what they expect from a chiropractor, which is help on the table, but there's all these other things you're doing to make it that much better. The next thing that almost everybody forgets is you just ask for referrals. If somebody said, oh my God, that was a great treatment, say, great, do you know somebody else who could benefit from this? Here's something you can give them. So you're encouraging the referrals, and then if you get a referral, you always have to follow up. And that following up with referrals can also be automated. And then you want to thank those people who did the referring, which can also be done through automation. All these pieces can have automation built in to make life easier. Just like right now, I'm being seen on a bunch of iPhones and Samsungs and things like that. That's done through some automation. That it's you add the video in, you click a few things, and now all these people could be watching me live from their phones, no matter where they are, and it's done through automation instead of having to, really send them, text each of them individually, privately, saying, hey, watch this right now. They've got an app, they're watching it, and app is automation. It's those kind of ideas. Once you've done this, you're ready to go. And what I want to do, I'm going to take a quick pause here and just kind of check in with everybody and see, before I go into 3 solutions that I use to help create some of this automation, I just want to check in with you guys and see if there's any questions so far.
No, I don't have any questions. Actually, some of the things you're talking about, are we going to get to a point where we're going to talk about if there's a way to do all that, or really that's what you are bringing to the table? In other words, the unknown for me, Sean, is, have you developed through whatever connections and things all this automation so that someone could connect with someone like you and you could teach them, show them, or do it for them, the complete automation piece?
So what I've learned in doing all this is that, I'm going to go ahead and stop screen share so you guys can see my face. What I've learned in doing all this is that no one needs all of this. Each business has unique needs. Some people might need more automation on the front end of converting the prospects to clients. Some people might need more automation on the back end of how to deal with referrals. Some people might need other types of automation for tracking. If you're somebody who bills hourly, how are you tracking your hourly time that you're doing? I'm working with a woman who does, she helps do renovations in people's houses. She makes their houses look better than they are. And she bills by the hour for the amount of time she's doing it, and she needed a way to be able to say, hey, I'm at the store buying your windows, it took me 37 minutes, so that goes into the billing for them. Those kind of things. Each automation piece is really dependent on the person and what their unique business needs are. So yes, there's ways to automate each of these pieces, but there's no cookie cutter, go here, build this, build this, build this, build this, build this, because it might be 10 pieces that could help, but really that business only needs 2 or 3 items to really get them to the next level, and they're going to spend money on some automation that they don't really need. So it's hard for me to say yes, all those solutions exist. They do, but it's really dependent on what each business and each person needs.
I have a question, Sean. Does all of this automation, or I'll say automated messages and communication, at some point, does it feel impersonal to the consumer that's receiving them? I know you obviously, the way you word things and populate things is important, but because we are all so inundated and over-marketed, so to speak, as consumers, does this at some point become, again, something that's impersonal, and is there a way around that?
There is a danger of it becoming impersonal, and so you need to be aware of that, and you need to make sure that you're not just relying on technology for your interaction with your customers. But I'm a big believer in you want to talk to warm or hot prospects only. So that idea of getting them to know you a little bit and getting to like you a little bit can often be done through this automation by giving them value on a consistent basis so that they're learning more, they're feeling educated, and eventually it gets to that point where you then have that personal interaction so that they learn to trust you. That personal interaction leads to that third piece of trust, but the knowing and liking you can often happen through the automation, and it doesn't have to feel impersonal. Sometimes it's just written emails. Sometimes you can set it up so that they get automated voicemails so that they're getting basically a phone call from you, even though you're not there live. You can set it up so that they're getting videos because that feels more personal. It depends on what works for you, who you are, and what's the cleanest for you to make sure that it's less just a technical computer interaction. And so you need to know when to bring in the human interaction, but oftentimes we all have limited amount of time to be able to interact with people at the human touch level, and so you need to know what pieces need that and what pieces don't. And a lot of times there's a lot of pieces leading up to that trust factor that can be automated and don't require that direct human touch.
So this is where, and Dr. Allen and I have had a lot of discussions on this, where we kind of think when you're in business and you're marketing, if you're not, excuse my language, pissing some people off, you're probably not doing enough marketing. So this is a way of kind of weeding out some of those tire kickers. Will some people be annoyed by whatever your automated process is? Yeah, but realistically, I would think that they probably weren't a serious client anyway, because someone that's really interested in what you have to offer and how you can solve their problem probably would not feel that way. So you've just kind of removed them from, and I like what you said, the warm and hot, and stop trying to turn the cold into warm.
Exactly, and one of my favorite pieces of automation is what I call disqualification surveys. So the people, you know what you need, you know your ideal client, you know who they are and what they need. Like, let's say, as a consultant, I know what the minimum amount I will take to do any kind of consultation work. And so I can ask, what is your marketing budget? And I can put in 4 answers, and if they answer the first 2, I know they're not going to be an ideal client, so I just put them into a nurture campaign saying, like, here's some stuff that can help you, here's some things, but I'm not going to give them the link to be able to set up a consultation with me because they can't afford me anyway. Why would I spend the time talking to them? And a lot of times you can ask those questions where it does push somebody's button enough that you can basically say, like, you know, if you're not willing to spend, I'm going to just throw out a number, if you're not willing to spend $5,000 to make your business grow, then I'm not the person you want to talk to. They're going to be like, but of course I want to be the person I want to talk to. Or if you're not the person who's ready to invest $5,000 to get $10,000 in value back, they're like, but I am that person. But they weren't, because they said they won't spend $5,000. And so it's knowing the right buttons to push to either completely disqualify them so you don't need to talk to them ever and they just kind of stay in your slow cold nurture sequence, or you've angered them enough, you've upset them enough, you've made them feel discomfort enough that they're now ready and empowered and pushed hard enough to say, okay, I'm taking the action. I don't want to be that person who's not willing to do that. I want to be the person willing to do that. So then they take that next step of action. So those kind of things can be very beneficial, and that's where building out these systems correctly matter, so that you are only talking to the people who really are best qualified to become one of your clients.
Dr. Allen?
Yeah, I want to just say, you know, interestingly enough, in this automation screening or disqualifying, one of the things I've seen in the past in my own business over the years is that someone, might follow my funnel, my marketing, and be attracted to me, set up a time, spend time with me, even become a client, and then the first time you make an attempt to automate them, they go, well, I don't want to send my email list more than one email a month. So, you say, well, wait a second here. You were attracted to my business, you signed up for my business, and you received 37 emails from me before you did that, and you signed up for something that you're attracted to, but you're afraid to. So there's a lot of ways, even in the automation, that you automatically could disqualify people, not only the financial aspect, but even from what you're actually doing. So on a level, technology is its own disqualifier in some cases, which I love.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those fun things that'll happen often for me in my realm where they'll be like, well, does this automation work? I'll be like, well, how did you find me? Oh, I saw a post you did in Facebook, and I clicked on it, and it was interesting, so I asked for this. I got one of your free ebooks, and then, I was getting such value, you offered me a second ebook, and so I've been reading all the ebooks that you keep sending me, and they've been fantastic, and I've learned a lot, and I've already implemented some of it, and a month later you offered this consultation, so I wanted to call you. I'm like, have I talked to you until now? No. So clearly the automation's working because it got you all the stuff you wanted to be able to get to that point where we're having a conversation. So it's using the system to prove that the system works, which is important.
Absolutely.
All right, Sean, why don't you show us, I know you're going to show us a little bit of kind of how that works, so those people that are not automated and don't have systems in place can kind of get a feel for it.
I'm a big fan of always giving value so people walk away with something that they could implement right away without needing to necessarily talk with, like having to move forward or call somebody. So we're going to talk about 3 systems that help a lot with automation. And the first one I'm going to talk about, it's a company and it's a program that I personally use for my hourly billing, which is My Intervals. It's the system that lets you track your hourly time. It's got a little clock that you can have on your phone so that if I'm in with a client and I'm meeting them in their office, as soon as I sit down, I pull out my phone, I start the clock, we meet, we talk, we have a conversation, we do whatever it is. I might do some stuff on their computer, we might discuss it. As soon as the thing's done, I stop it, and then I can go over to the next one and I can start a new clock and stop it. And I could travel all day for 8 hours and meet with 6 clients, and at the end of the day, all of that's sitting inside My Intervals so that all I have to do is at the end of the month send an invoice from My Intervals saying, hey, we met on this time at this time, and all that's already in there working off of my cell phone. It's a great way to be able to track hourly work so that it makes life really easy on you without necessarily having to pull up your calendar and then type it into an invoice and hope that you remember what you talked about. You can just do that all right from your phone, instantly, stop, start, done, and then you can send out your billing. So that if you're somebody who has to track and bill hourly, My Intervals, and you can just go to myintervals.com, it's a great place to be able to find out and learn more.
Awesome.
Which is what I use for all of my email communications, those voicemails I was telling you about. This is a CRM. It's a customer relation management system. The one I personally use is called Infusionsoft, and you can go to togetSeen.com/Infusionsoft to learn a little bit more. But this exists out there, and this allows you to do the email messages. It can let you do the voice processing. It lets you create like forms to capture information and make sure they're getting the information they want. This is where I do my disqualification surveys. So if they say they'll spend less than $5,000, they get one set of emails. If they're willing to spend more than $5,000, they get a second set of emails. Based on what they say, that decides how I communicate them. So I'm automatically dividing them up into cool, warm, hot, so that I'm spending my time with the best possible people who could become clients, and I'm not spending my time with those people who, what I like to call looky-loos, those people who are just starting to get a feel of what they might or might not want. And as you can see on here, you can send out lots of emails. You can schedule when they go out. You get to write the emails ahead of time. I can set up a year-long nurture sequence somebody, and I can write it in a day. I just write all the emails, decide they go out weekly or monthly, however often I want. And as people opt in, they just get all that automatically. Once it's made, I never have to touch it again, and it just keeps going forever. That's why I love automations through things like CRMs. So that's the next thing. And then the third one, and this is my personal favorite, if you're somebody who needs to do appointments, instead of doing all those back and forth phone calls and, hey, are you free Thursday? I am. Oh, wait, by the time you hear back from them, your Thursday filled up, so it's no longer free. I use a thing called Appointment Core, and there's a lot of other things out there that you can do for time scheduling. It's just the one I personally use. And all of these things I use personally. That's why I'm talking about them. But I can then send somebody a link that says, great, book a time to meet with me. They'll open up the calendar. They'll be able to look, and they'll be able to see the times I'm available. They'll get into my calendar immediately. It gets automatically put into my calendar, so I'm not even having to talk to them to schedule. It just shows up. I get an email saying, hey, this person wants to meet with you on this time. It's already in my calendar. It was a time that was free in my calendar. It now blocks out that point so nobody else can schedule at that time. So I'm notified. They get emails on a consistent basis saying, hey, you booked an appointment with me at this time. This is how we're going to meet. They'll get an email reminder the day before, an hour before, however often you want. So all of that reminders for you and them is happening automatically as well. And the only time you're really interacting with the person is at the time of the appointment. And you may have already asked a bunch of questions, so that 30-minute call is super efficient because I already know what their biggest needs are, what's working, what's not working, and I already probably have an idea of a solution. So that when I have that 30-minute call, I can come to that call, say, here's what I understand your business is, here's what's going on. You do a little research beforehand. You sound educated, you sound prepared. They feel like you are really skilled, so now you've earned that trust factor, especially if you go into that call and say, here's one solution I recommend you implement right now. They go in, they implement a new solution, and they haven't paid for that call. It was a free consultation, but now they know I can deliver value. I know what I'm doing. I took time to learn about what they're doing, and I gave them something that already helped. What else could I possibly do? That opens that door for them to say, yes, I need to work with you more. And so having that online scheduling saves me the time of back and forth phone calls and emails. I talk to them. I know what's happening. I ask the right questions ahead of time so that my time with them is used absolutely most valuably. So those are 3 items I use on a consistent basis that work very, very well that I want everybody else to kind of be aware of and know, because it's important that you have ways to use your time more effectively and to deliver better value faster. And once again, it's all about giving you more money and more quality time, which is the point. And so this is why I think automation is so important and can be so significant in making a difference for yourself and for your customers and clients.
Sean, I have to tell you something funny. When you talk about the calendar, it made me laugh because even though Dr. Allen and I work very closely on lots of projects that we partner on, if I say to him, well, when can we meet on Monday, he makes me go to his calendar. Like, he will never give me a time. Not an emergency, I can Skype and go, hey, you have 5 minutes. But for the most part, when we talk, it's because I'm on his calendar. And you can go to my calendar and you see, because when you schedule an appointment with someone, you get to download it to your calendar. There's my appointments with Dr. Allen. He's really rigid about that. And
the reason is because I don't even know who's scheduled, because everyone uses my calendar, so I don't even know if I have any slots. So now, by using this, I have to keep using it, which I love, and people are very impressed with that, by the way.
Yeah, it's like having a digital executive secretary who's sitting there and writing your calendar for you. You never have to worry about it. And what I love about the system I use is that it lets you say you can't book within the next 3 days. And so I know I've got a 3-day window before I'm going to have to talk to them so I can prepare. You can also say they can't book any farther than 2 weeks out, so that I'm not filling up weird times in 3 months from now when I might get the opportunity to travel overseas and do a presentation somewhere. So I want to have that week free, so I'm not booking random people that I then have to reschedule. So you control how they're interacting, they control what days and times, and they're choosing a time that works best for them, which makes them feel really empowered. Instead of you telling them, this is the time I want to do it, what you're doing is saying, what's going to be best for you? I want to make this easiest for you. You choose a time that's best for you. Here's some openings I have. They feel empowered. They know that you're putting them first.
Yeah, and you know what else is really good about that? And I tell doctors all the time to use an online calendar, because if you try to do it live, this is what that experience is like. What does your Thursday look like? Let me see. Thursday. What do I have going on? Well, I don't think. Well, let's look at Tuesday. I don't know this. So you literally, a conversation to set up an appointment becomes longer than the consultation that you're going to have. When they go to the calendar, they look, they see, well, only this is available. They click on it, and it's done deal.
Yeah.
All right, let me. First of all, this is amazing, and every small business owner, medium-sized business, and this is what large companies do. You know, I actually just dropped my computer off at Apple. Guess how many automated messages I've gotten about the status of my computer? So this is something that everyone can do. You know, the beauty of the technology that's available today that I love when people like Sean come on our show is because anyone can access these kind of things. Anyone can have a digital calendar. I happen to use one that's called Schedule Once. I think it cost me like $8 a month or $10 a month. And I love that hourly clock tracker that you have. That I've never seen. I mean, there's so many people that you know bill themselves hourly, and how hard is it to manually track that, and how much time do you spend creating invoices and all those things? So sometimes, and this is kind of where my last question comes in, Sean, for tie this up. Sometimes I think people that are maybe not as tech savvy as those of us that are here in the broadcast room today, when they go into some of these types of automation features, there's a bit of time that it takes to set some of these things up. Even my calendar at Schedule Once to really put in all those criteria, you know, it took me a couple of hours, but now it just lives there and I don't have to do it again. I think that's the point that I want you to really drive home to our viewers, is that you have to understand that to gain some time, you do have to spend some time. And ultimately, it's going to be a fraction of what you would have to do if you did all these things manually. Or like Dr. Allen said, you could see someone standing at a doctor's reception counter for 10 or 15 minutes, scheduling an appointment, taking up that receptionist time when they could be doing other things and being productive, as opposed to click on the calendar if you have it in an app. Here, download our app and go ahead and schedule your appointment. So from your experience, talk a little bit about the mindset of understanding that you do have to invest a little bit of time to set these things up, but then how smoothly they run and how there's actually business growth that takes place as a result of it.
Yeah, what I love about this automation stuff is you're correct. It's always going to be some time. You build it once, and the time to build it, there is a time investment in it. But that time investment has multiple benefits beyond what most people think. You're building that once, and so that ultimately, if it takes that long to build it once, let's say it takes 3 hours to set up an email campaign, or it takes 2 hours to set up that Schedule Once calendar system so that you're asking the right questions and it's connected to the right calendar and all the right email reminders go out, all that stuff. Those 2 hours, you would spend exponentially more times over and over and over and over and over again to do it manually. So once it's automated, the manual aspect of that goes away. So 2 hours at the front end to save multiple half hours for the rest of your business absolutely adds up very, very effectively. The other piece that happens, and this is the real benefit of doing automation and the time it takes to build these things, is you have to think about the experience you want your client to have. And most of the time when we're doing things that involve interacting with our clients, we're shooting from the hip. We're just doing whatever interaction feels best in that moment, and they're not getting the ideal client experience. When you automate, you have to think, where am I getting this person from? Where are they coming in? What do I need to know from them? What do I want them to experience? How is that experiential flow going to go? And when you're doing automation, what you're really doing is strategically planning out your business, which most small business owners never do. And that's why I think automation is that's the real benefit of automation. It forces you to strategically plan. The side benefit is all that extra time, all that extra money that comes in later because you're getting more people coming through and you're spending less time working on the things you don't love. And you're just happier because you're no longer having to deal with the stuff you didn't like doing anyway. So there's a concept out there in the world of personal development which is called eating the frog. And there's this idea that if you've got 10 things you need to do, you want to do the thing you hate most first. Get it out of the way, so that you can then do the things you enjoy more. And what happens, and people don't understand this, and that's the idea of eating the frog. You eat the frog first, and then you can have all the stuff that you really love. What happens when you do that is the thing you think you hate, that you think is going to take forever, that you're not looking forward to, if you do it first, it happens faster, it happens easier, because you're looking, and you're more motivated to get it done because you're excited about what you get to do after that. If you eat the frog last, you are going to find more and more things to distract you from having to eventually get there. So if you can automate first, and you can build out your systems first, and you can strategically plan first, which is often the frog for a lot of people, when you get that done, you're actually you're having more fun because you're doing the things you want to do more. You're not spending 30 minutes trying to get somebody scheduled. You're getting, let's say you can see 4 clients in a half an hour as a chiropractor. You might have 4 people on a table at one time, and you can work through them. At least that's how my chiropractic office works. So they can see 4 people in in a half an hour. That means in that time of the half hour of trying to schedule somebody, instead they just helped 4 people. And that's what makes them energized. That's what they love. So instead of being annoyed and frustrated and tired at the end of the day, they're energized, excited because they helped more people. They were able to do their purpose more often. So strategically planning at the front end leads to happier, more joyful work at the back end.
Well, I have 2 comments on that. One, the thought of eating a frog either early in the stages or late is not appealing to me. So I would need a little different metaphor, but I get the point. And the other thing that I think is really cool that I tell people that I work with, whatever they have to do these types of automation processes, is that it doesn't have to interfere with your business day. So most of us, have our laptops or have our iPads or whatever we're working with. These are the kind of things that you can do during non-productive business hours. So you don't have to interfere with your, what we'll call, profit-generating time, whatever your window is. If you happen to be a doctor, it's obviously during your office hours. So that's the beauty of technology today, is it really allows you to create these systems that will benefit your business, give you growth, give you back some time, and you don't have to do it during hours. Whereas there was a time when you only could talk to people to do things for you to generate business and to market your company or your business or your office during business hours. With all of the technology, honestly, anyone that does the setup of these things during their business hours is not making the best and highest use of your time. So that's a really important, feature to remember, that you don't have to bog down your day with this, and break it up. Like it did take me somewhere, I think around 2 hours to set up my calendar. And now every now and then I go in and I tweak it, but the tweak takes me like 10 minutes when I want to update something or add something or change something. So, if it's a big project, some of the things that Sean may have shared with you when you're embarking on setting up these campaigns, don't look at it in one giant piece. You don't have to do it all in one day. Take it a piece at a time and realize that it's, and Sean can address this and then we're going to close out, but I think the important thing to realize is it's never really finished, because you're always going to be tweaking it and editing it as things change, or as you find maybe something wasn't giving you the outcomes that you were expecting. Well, maybe you need to go back and tweak something a little bit. So you have to enter into it with this mindset. Yes, it's not a one-time setup. Kind of in theory it is a little bit, but you always want to be revisiting it and make sure that it's having the biggest impact possible on your business. And Sean, I'm going to give you kind of the last word about that as we show your contact slide.
Yeah, the way I look at it, there's 2 things that I realize and that I think about. There's reinventing the wheel, which is what most small businesses who haven't automated end up doing. They might send out an email newsletter, do it for and spend hours writing it each time and send it out, and it's not working real well. And so then they say, oh, my newsletter needs to look completely different. And then they spend a bunch of hours changing it and trying to do it this way and putting in the new email names and all that stuff. And so you're basically reinventing the wheel every time you want to make a tweak. If you have a system in place, all you're doing is enhancing the wheel. The wheel's still there, the system's in place, it's still rolling along, And if you never made any enhancements, it's still at least doing something. If you want to make the adjustment, you want to make it a little better, you want to put the white walls on, whatever it might be, it's looking better, it runs a little bit better, it's cleaner, that's great. And those adjustments, those tweaks take a lot less time and you get exponential benefit from that. So if you have it in place, in systems, if you have automation in place, you never have to worry about the fact that you have to try to start from scratch. You have a place to start from. Building it the first time, and like you said, building it in stages. I'm a big fan of those 10-minute windows you have between calls, between sessions, between whatever. Those are great times to write an email or map out the next campaign or work on the next free product or whatever it is. You don't have to do everything in one sitting for 8 straight hours and build it all instantly. You build it in time. When it's ready, you roll out the next thing, and you're constantly giving value, which is what matters. So incremental, small steps, make it happen, so that you don't have to consistently reinvent the wheel. Instead, you are just enhancing the system that you have in place, saving you time and constantly making what you're delivering better so that your clients, your customers, are having the best possible experience that you can give them.
Dr. Allen, do you have something to add?
I do want to add something. You know, some people don't realize, they think that if somebody does something like the event we're doing today, or Sean does an event that he does, that they don't recognize all the work he's putting in to bring it to that point. Those people are assuming that, well, sure, it's all done. I mean, they've done it, but I need to first do it. They don't see all the work that leads up to it that gives them the ability to make a presentation like this today, the time he spent doing his slides. Any business that you want to be successful in, you have to put work into. Everybody who thinks or goes and listens to somebody who thinks they're going to get the secret formula or the secret message that's going to change their business, and all they need to do is hear it and do nothing else, well, they'll be searching for that secret message for the rest of their lives, because everything worth doing is worth doing right, and you have to do it. You just have no choice.
Yeah, I always like to tell people, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
There you go. That's the perfect conclusion. Well, we're all systems people. Obviously, Dr. Allen has the system. Sean teaches automated systems. Everything that we do at the William David Company, from Community Wellness Day to all our virtual engagement programs, everything is a system. Even the way I work is a system that are steps for me to be able to achieve what I'm doing. So I want to thank Sean for being here today, and sharing some of this, and maybe even just planting a little seed for some people that know these are the things that will allow them to save time. And sometimes you even don't need all the employees that you have when you automate some of these things. So you might even save a bunch of money. And I think Dr. Allen is having a little problem with his slides. Oh, wait, there he goes. He's back. I'm going to throw it to him to close us out.
Okay. Also, doesn't that expression, you eat a frog to get to a prince or something? I know it's an old saying.
No, you gotta kiss 100 toads to get to a prince. Isn't that what it is? Or frogs? You gotta kiss 100 frogs to find a prince.
Oh, or isn't this saying I had to kiss 100 frogs to get this coat or something? I don't know what it is. Anyway.
Either way, it's no good.
Okay. Anyway, you've been listening to Building Your Wellness Brand Within Your Community. Today's episode is brought to you by the William David Company, Rethinking Small Businesses, and, of course, Community Wellness Day. Every great opportunity begins with the first step. Take that step with Community Wellness Day, the system, the official marketing program of healthcare professionals everywhere. The VIP app, the only application that allows you to bring your live events just like this one to the iPhones, iPads, Samsungs, and desktop apps of all those people that have you in their circles, and of course Google Plus in 10 minutes, a step-by-step guide for everything Google for your business. On behalf of myself, Dr. Alan Weinstein, my co-host Dr. Randi Ross, and a great friend Sean Adams, we want to thank you for being here today, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thanks, guys.